Hold on 1 second. Let me send out an invite. So now, so anyway, so we'll start with the reading of the hadith. We'll start from the section of Babu Man Adraka, uh, Babu Man Adraka, Adrakatan Min as-Salat. Right? So we'll start from the section on catching one rak'ah, of prayer. Catching one rak'ah of prayer. Right? So anyway, قال المعارف رحمه الله تعالى باب من أدراك ركعتان من الصلاة. حدثنا يحيى عن مالك عن ابن شهاب عن أبي سلمة ابن عبد الرحمن عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه عليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال من أدراك ركعات من الصلاة فقد أدراك الصلاة. حدثنا عن مالك النافع أن عبد الله بن عمر بن الخطاب كان يقول إذ فتتك ركعات فقد فأتتك أشجد. وحدثنا من مالك أنه بلغه أن عبد الله بن عمر وزيد بن ثابت كان يقول خولاني من أدراك ركعات فقد أدراك السجدة. وحدثنا يحيى عن مالك أنه بلغه أن أبا هريرة كان يقول من أدراك ركعات فقد أدراك أسجد السجدة ومن فتاه قراءة أم القرآن فقد فتاه خير كثيرا. Yes. Um, Now, the rakat, when he catches the rakat, it means that he caught it to the point where he doesn't have to make it up. Now, as for the translation of the section we just read, whoever catches the rakat of the salat, Yahya related to me from Malik, from Ibn Shihab, from Abu Salama, Ibn Abdurrahman, from Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever catches a rak'ah of the prayer has caught the prayer, right? Yahya related to me from Malik, from Nafi', that Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab used to say, if you have missed ruku', you have missed the sajda. Yahya related to me from Malik that he heard that Abdullah ibn Umar and Zayd ibn Thabit used to say, whoever catches the ruku' has caught the sajda. Yahya related to me from Malik that he heard that Abu Hurairah used to say, whoever catches the ruku' has caught the sajda. Whoever misses the recitation of the Fatiha has missed much good. So, just in short, if a person catches the imam before he stands up from ruku', he's considered have caught in a full rak'ah without having to make it up. If the person comes in after the imam has stood from the ruku', then the person has to make that one rak'ah up once the imam salams out. Now, the next section that we're gonna go over next. I'm sorry. Next hadith, section of hadiths. Uh, now, oh, in the last part where he mentions about the woman fatahu qira'atu Quran faqad fatahu khayran kathiran. Meaning, if the person misses, and it's a way of encouraging to make sure that the person tries their best to make the rak'ah at the opening takbirat, we hear the qira'ah, the recitation of Surah Al-Fatiha. It's a way of encouraging, inshallah. Babu ma ja'a fi duluku shamsi wa ghasaqi al-layl. حدثني يحيى عن مالك عن نافع أن عبد الله بن عمر كان يقول دلوك الشمس ميلها. وحدثنا عن مالك عن داود بن حسين وقال أخبرني مخبر عن عبد الله بن عباس كان يقول دلوك الشمس إذا فاء الفيء وغسق الليل اجتماع الليل وظلماته. Now, so here in this section, is talking about the what is known as the Dulukul Shams, right? In the which is the highest point where the sun begins at its past the meridian. So it's at that time it's Salatul Dhuhr. Once the sun passes the meridian at that highest peak, and then it turns, that's when the time for Salatul Dhuhr comes in, right? So he says, Yahya related to me from Malik from Nafi that Abdullah ibn Umar used to say, Dulukul Shams begins from when the sun passes the meridian. That's number one. Number two, the second narration, it mentions Yahya related to me from Malik that Dawood ibn Hussein said that someone had told him that Abdullah ibn Abbas used to say Dulukul Shams begins from when the sun passes the meridian, and Ghasaq al-Layl is the gathering of the night in its darkness. So Dulukul Shams, in reference to the ayat in the Quran in Surah Al-Isra, right? I forgot the exact number of the ayat. Well, Allah Ta'ala talks about the Dulukul Shams with Ghasaq al-Layl in the Qiraat al-Fajr, right? Basically, just in those three terms that were used is the five prayers, okay? The five prayers. The Qiraat, the Dulukul Shams is containing of Dhuhr and Asr, right? Because you have the this goes back to the primer books that we studied between with Umdatul Bayan particularly, the ikhtiyari time and then the dururi time. The ikhtiyari time for Salatul Dhuhr is when the sun passes the meridian, okay? When the sun passes the meridian. The time for Asr is when the shadow or the thing that's being measured is equal to the shadow of the thing of measurement, and then it begins to go over until the doubling of the size, right? The doubling of the size of the thing that's measured, the shadow of the thing that's being measured, right? The dururi time for both prayers, the necessary time, the ikhtiyari time is at its earliest, at its beginning, its beginning time. The dururi time for Dhuhr and Asr is the prayer before Maghrib. So it's two. So then this is referred to Dulukul Shams, right? The time of the Shams coming in, right? But some people, when they read the Quran and they're trying to discredit hadith, they'll say nowhere in the Quran says that you have to pray 5 times a day, but actually it does in that ayat that we're talking about in Surah Al-Isra. I'll look for, as a matter of fact, I'll try to look for the ayat before we close out class. Excuse me. Now, so وَغَسَاقُ اللَّيْلِ is at the time of Maghrib. The ikhtiyar time at Maghrib is when, once that color in the sky comes and the sun is setting, up until the disappearance of the sun, and some even mention the appearance of stars, and then the time for Isha comes in. The ikhtiyar time for Isha is from that time or up until the first third of the night. Some even say up until the beginning of the second third of the night. So from Maghrib until that time, the ikhtiyar time, and then the dururi time is up into the time for subh, for fajr, the necessary time, right? And then in that ayat, that same ayat in Surah Al-Isra, the in that time for the time for subh is at that time when that first light of dawn, right? That's the time for Salatul Subh, right? So in this ayat, I'm gonna tell you what this ayat is at. It's killing me right now. Just give me 1 second, I'll find it for you, inshallah. Now, ayat 78. So the ayat is in Surah 17, ayat 78. Now, all right. So the time for that time, where it discusses the ayat for the times of prayer, all 5 prayers are discussed in this particular ayat. Now, so we'll stop with that part on the narration of the Muwatta. We stopped at the section pertaining to. Hold on 1 second. I'm sorry. Where we stopped at the section pertaining to. So the next time when we go into narration or the narration of the Muwatta will begin from Babu Jamia Wuqut, like basically all the times of prayer in general. So what I want to mention now from this point is I want to go into a little bit of the notes. We're going to discuss a little bit more and build on what we left off at last week, inshallah. So we'll start with the one. We'll discuss the 7 highest narrators of hadith, right? The 7 highest narrators of hadith. The first one will be, in this particular order, the first one will be Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu, right? Then Anas ibn Malik. Then Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Then Ibn Abbas. Then Jabir ibn Abdullah. Then Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. And then Amr ibn al-As. So I'll mention them once again. The 7th highest narrators of hadith. Abu Hurairah radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Anas ibn Malik. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. Ibn Abbas. Jabir ibn Abdullah. Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and Amr ibn al-As. There's other females that was mentioned, and we mentioned one last week. I think Amr binti Abdurrahman. and there's another one. Her name is Fatima bint Mundir, and then Hafsa bint Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu ta'ala anhuma. Abu Huraira was with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam for about 4 years. He joined the Prophet sallallahu the seventh year after the Hijrah, and the Prophet sallallahu died in the 11th year after Hijrah, and thus made him. He was with him, and he narrated. Thus he narrated with the Prophet sallallahu for 4 years. He narrated about 5,374 hadith, but many of the hadiths are repetitive. They are repeated narrations on behalf of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, which makes the actual number of his riwayat at 2,000, that many of the scholars say. Now, last week we talked about a Sahih hadith, and we want to talk about the five criteria that makes a hadith Sahih, makes it sound. Okay? You're talking about the authenticity of the hadith. There's five criteria that make the hadith authentic. If there's any deficiency in that five, then therefore it affects the strength or the authenticity of that particular hadith. So the first criteria is muttasil, that it's a connected chain. If a person is missing in the chain, it is not connected. This is why birth and dates of narrators and his sheikh are mentioned to confirm the transmission. Okay, so we're talking about connection of the hadith, the chain being connected. The second one is solitary, right? Or it shouldn't be shadh. Okay, it shouldn't be shadh. A chain from a trustworthy narrator that strays relative to other chains. They mentioned an example. All of narrators of Zuhri said that the sun was visible at the location at the time of Asr, where Imam Malik narrated it being visible at Kuba. Thus, Imam Malik's report would be considered shadh, because all of the other narrators narrated that the sun was visible at the location, while Malik said it was only visible at Kuba. So it'll be considered a shadh, like an anomalous report, different from the other ones, right? If the narrator is not trustworthy, then the hadith is considered what is called munkar, it's rejected, right, or evil. The other one, it cannot have any hidden illa, any hidden defects or sickness in that chain, the chain of narration. So that's three. That's three. We done talked about three right now, right? It has to be muttasil. Okay, so we'll put up number one. Number one, muttasil. Number two, whoops, sorry. Number two, it can't be anomalous. Or slash backslash shadh. Number three, it can't have any illa. hidden defects. Number 4 would be the person has to be adl, virtuous. Number 5, person has to be dubbed, which would be precision and memory. Hold on. So these are the 5. These are 5 criteria that had to be fulfilled. Hold on. 5 criteria for a Sahih hadith. Right? Those are the 5 criteria for a sound hadith. If there's any defect in any of these 5, then it weakens the hadith. Right? So once again, just a recap, has to be muttasil, has to be connected. If a person is missing in the chain, then it's not considered muttasil. If it is, it has to be, it cannot be anomalous, meaning it has to be in solidarity with the other narrators. They can't narrate, something off of their own. And if the narrator is trustworthy, then if the narrator is not trustworthy, then the hadith is considered munkar. Right? It has to be free from defects in it. So, and the person has to be adl. This person cannot be a fasik. They can't be an open sinner or a person of innovation in the deen. And what you'll find in your studies when you get into other books of hadith, like Imam Muslim particularly, he'll take the narration of an innovator, but they'll be referred to as Ahlul Hawa, the people of desire, people of passion, and they're categorizing it. It doesn't change. It still affects the authenticity or the soundness of that particular hadith. Alhamdulillah. It affects the soundness of that particular hadith, but it gives a category to them. But it would affect them being considered adl. And what he should be is a practicing pious Sunni Muslim from amongst Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And then the last thing is dabt. Dabt is pertaining to the retention of memory, and the precision of that person's ability to narrate the hadith or narration. Okay? So that affects the soundness, of the hadith. These 5 things when they're fulfilled, then that particular narration will fall under the category of sahih. If there's some defect in it, then it could lower the standards from hasan to da'if. Right? Now, example of a sahih chain, I'll give you 2 chains narrated from on the behalf of Imam Malik. This one is the first one I'm going to mention to you is considered in what is known as the Silsilat al-Dhahabiyya, the golden chain, right? Which is Imam Malik, from Malik to Nafi, from Nafi. Well, it's really going backwards from the Prophet ﷺ to Ibn Umar, from Ibn Umar to Nafi to Imam Malik. Okay. That second chain is from Abdullah, who is the father of Salim, from Salim to Ibn Shihab. I'm sorry, Ibn Shihab al-Zuhri to Imam Malik. Okay, so that's an example of two Sahih chains. Now, so now this is where we'll stop at tonight, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward everyone who attended and who will also listen and contribute later, inshallah. Hopefully everything was clear, it was understandable, and I pray that this is a benefit for everyone, So tonight's hukum that we got out of the narrations that was being narrated, we discussed the Dulukul Shams wa Laylatul Ghasaqa or Ghasaq, right? And that is pertaining to the times of prayer. What we also got another hukum from this reading in the Muwatta was catching a rak'ah. You consider catching a full rak'ah where you don't have to make it up is when you join the prayer before the imam comes out of ruku', before he stands up to say Sami Allahu liman hamida, Rabbana lakal hamd. As long as you catch it before he stands up for that, then you caught the full rak'ah and you don't have to make up. But anything after that, you have to stand up and make up. And also, we also learned that the some of the good and the benefit of the Quran is getting to the prayer. I'm sorry, the good of joining the salat is getting there at the beginning of the prayer or joining in, at the takbir al-ihram, where you hear the recitation of the Quran, inshallah. So with that, we'll stop there. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik wa ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.